Hey everyone, happy Sunday. I think today is November 13th. So mid-November, I wanted to give you a walk around to see what's going on in the garden, things that I've planted, how they're doing, things that are just kind of trucking along since summer that are still working. I'll give you a little bit of a English garden tour. Well, it's not really a tour, just a view to see what I've done to prepare for planting the English garden. I'll give you a look at my seedlings that we planted, or seeds that we planted that are now seedlings. Let's just start doing it. So we had some good rains last week, and that kind of watered everything, kept everything healthy, and we've had overcast weather. So things are really going though. The summer stuff, let's go through that first. I have very few things that are still left from summer. Peanuts. I still haven't harvested the peanuts because they're still producing. So here's my peanut bed. And if we go in here and dig down a little bit, looks like a squirrel got to this one. But you can see all the little lines that go into the ground. There's a peanut on the bottom of each of those. So we're about ready to harvest these. I even feel some more under here. Now right next door is the sweet potato bed. Now, I got a super late start this year on sweet potatoes. I tried to root the slips and the sweet potatoes actually rotted. So that happened last year, but I had backups. I didn't have backups this year, so I ended up having to order them online and wait for them to come and then root those. And now, so I didn't get these into the ground until probably June, maybe, I'm thinking. So digging down, there are some baby sweet potatoes. And since we don't get a ton of frost here, I'm hoping that they will continue to produce throughout the winter, even though it might be slower. My tomatoes, since I cleaned them up and gave them a shot of fertilizer, they've grown a lot. I've actually had to lower the hooks a couple times, and we do have baby tomatoes again. So there's quite a few tomato flowers and fruit. They're not going to produce like they would if this was summer. The days are getting shorter, colder, and so they will keep, inching along throughout the next couple of months, but we're not going to see spectacular harvests. The basil that I let go to flower, it's pretty much done now. So I'll be able to come in here and plant my second and third row of peas. I did a video a few weeks ago sowing pea seeds, and those are all up. So that's going to be the back row, and then I'll have 2 more rows in front of that. Potatoes are starting to come up. My fall planted potatoes. So these should be ready to harvest mid-winter, early spring. And then here's my garlic bed. What was that, just a week ago that I planted these? Looks like 100% of them came up, and they're already 6 to 8 inches high. I got a lot of questions from those of you on that video about if you'd planted them, you live in a climate where you get snow or freezes and your garlic was already coming up. It's okay. I have it on good authority that those will still work just fine. Just leave them alone, maybe throw some mulch on top, maybe a layer of straw, 3 to 4 inches to get them through the winter a little bit better, but they should be just fine. Here are the cabbages that I put the seedlings in a few weeks ago. And there are some weeds. These are mainly some straw seeds, probably from the mulch that was here through the summer. But those are really easy to take out. I just need to do it. So one of the recent videos I did, I was sitting in front of this plant right here, and there's a lot of you who asked what it was. This is my eggplant, and this particular plant in about August, I believe, had to be completely cut back to bare sticks. I mean, it was super small because it was attacked by whitefly, powdery mildew, and even I think some spider mites. I'm not sure what happened, but it was just really not doing well. So I cut it back, and man, it is really just completely exploded. And look in here. Look at all I don't know how many eggplant there are, but they need to be harvested. So let's just do that. Look at all these. These are huge. And there's still about 9 or 10 on there that can get a little bit bigger. Not bad for mid-November. I've actually got a lot of zinnias that are still doing really well in mid-November. Shocking. At my last house, we had more moisture in the air, and so my zinnias were almost all completely covered in mildew by September at the latest. Now the pumpkin patch is really going downhill, which it should be at this time. But again, at our last house, they would have been covered in mildew way before now. But some of this new growth is still perfectly green. In fact, I don't think there's mildew on almost anything here. We have some baby pumpkins that may or may not grow to full maturity depending on temperatures and sun. But I think for the size patch we had and how late we got them in the ground, I think we have a really good showing for that. The tropicals are still looking great, even though we got down to like 35 one night, which is really surprising for here, being that it's November, and usually those temperatures don't happen until like January. And on Friday's Q&A video, or the Ask Me Anything video, you guys commented on how great the bed behind me looked. And yeah, it really, really does. We have some cannas here, some canna lilies. And then all of these, a lot of people thought they were vincas, which you could be forgiven for thinking that. These are sun patience. I believe sun patience are what we used to call New Guinea impatiens that have been rebranded. I'm not sure on that, but they look very similar. Up here in the front bed, these are vincas. So very similar. There's a little bit of a difference. The leaf shape, the flowers are a little bit bigger on the sun patience, and just everything's a deeper color, I believe, on the sun patience. Now let's take a look at the seedlings. We planted seeds for flowers. I walked you through all the different flowers that I was going to be growing for the cottage garden that I was going to start from seed in the fall. So right here, I have a table set up as in the most full sun spot we have. And the thing with fall planted seeds is you've got to be really patient because they don't grow as fast. I mean, unless they're in a greenhouse, they don't grow as fast as the ones in spring because the days are getting shorter and colder. But I gave them a shot of fertilizer yesterday, half strength tomato and veg from Neptune's Harvest. And so they should be hopefully putting on a little more growth. I may put them in a cold frame to bring up the heat level a little bit, just to speed them up. But now I'll take you on a little tour, very short tour, of the cottage garden. I've actually been working to clear it out. There was a lot of old succulents and things that needed to be rehomed and gotten rid of in order to bring this cottage garden to life this spring. All right, you ready? So this area was completely full just a week ago. So I got all that cleaned out. I still haven't planted the second red bud. I got the full roof on. Not sure if I showed that in a previous video. I think I did. But the thatching, I'm working with a company trying to figure all that out. They wanted to see drawings and, you know, the plans so they could figure out how much I need. And I had to try to explain to them, that's not how I work. I drew a picture of it and then I just started working on it. So trying to figure out the square footage and the different measurements that they need to give me a quote on the thatching that will go on. I'll put a picture up right here of the idea that we're working from. This is the type of roof that I want. It's really going to cover up a lot of the mistakes I made as a non-professional builder, rather than shingles, which it takes a little bit more of a perfect underlayment. I want to give you guys a tip. I don't know if you have a Lowe's in your area, but if you do, you need to be taking advantage of their clearance section. And I think all Lowe's has this. Every time we're in a new town around here or haven't been there in a while, I always stop at Lowe's to see what they've got on their clearance section. I found these 3 climbing roses. They're all the same. They're called Perfume Breeze. That's not the best picture. I'll try to put one up on the screen. But Anyway, these were all 50% off, meaning $15 a piece. And those are gonna go, once this gets painted, the chicken run, those are gonna be on the 3 front posts, and they're gonna be climbing all over that structure and probably a little bit kind of meandering onto the cottage itself. Here are the Dutch iris that we planted. What was that, 3 weeks ago maybe? I have not found, ever since we've been here, I have not found any evidence of gophers up here in this center area. The driveway wraps around this entire cottage garden, and I haven't found any gopher evidence. I was a little nervous because I am going to be planting bulbs all throughout this section, and I'll be doing a video on that probably next week. And I mentioned this on that last gopher video. I was worried that you know, how I was going to do that and protect them from the gophers. Well, apparently daffodils and muscari, which is what I was going to be planting in the ground this year, gophers don't eat those. So that was really good news to hear. I corroborated that by looking at some other websites, but yes, you guys who told me that were absolutely correct. Tulips, on the other hand, they do eat those, but I was already planning on having those in pots anyway, up the path on the way to the cottage. And so I think we should be a-okay with that. So the last thing I want to show you is just a quick glimpse of the avocado tree that was attacked. Show you just very briefly. I'm doing a video on trying to salvage it, trying to save it, and that'll be up probably this week as well. But this is what it looks like as of right now. So it's still alive, and hopefully it will stay that way. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the tour. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. Hit the thumbs up button, please. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.